Alright, so what up? It's Read Your Mind. With me as always is
Hemi Storm,
Chris.
We are wearing pants, by the way, just so don't be worried.
Don't lie.
We're just okay, man. Hey, get your hand off there.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we actually have accomplished. Go ahead and pan over. By the way, Rod on the camera. Say what's up, Rod.
What's up?
If you can see before you, ultimately, this is what we were able to create for this commercial shoot. All of these RCs. Now, it was quite a process trying to figure it out, and I'm going to take you through that process a little bit here. We have a lot of behind the scenes footage and stuff like that that we can share with you. Undoubtedly Chris will have some on his channel, so if you haven't already checked out HemiStorm RC on YouTube, go do it, subscribe to it, like him on Facebook, follow him on Twitter, all that stuff. He's a funny guy. Chain smokes like a fiend, but a funny guy. So let me start off by first showing you this. This was the proof of concept. I know what you're thinking. Reed, that looks horrible. Well, you know what? That's pretty much exactly what convinced Chris DeGraff to come out and help me, because he thought this was an embarrassment, and I agree. But one of the things we did do is we took a kit, we ordered a kit, and the kit ended up being an exact match to the Tamiya F104. So we ordered the Tamiya F104 kit, and I built it up from the ground up so I could learn about it as proof of concept, and then I sourced the stickers myself. I tried to figure out how to do the wings because there was no body on the market that even came close to what these bodies look like. And I took this to Denizen and I said, well, here's what we learned. We can't just take kits and modify them, and then we're gonna have to buy ready-to-runs and then modify the ready-to-runs because we won't have the time to build all the kits from scratch. So we learned something from this. So what ended up happening is we contacted Tamiya, and our boy over at Tamiya hooked us up and gave us a great discount to order a bunch of these RTRs. And we ended up starting dismantling the RTRs. So these are the original RTR bodies that came with the vehicle itself. So I have a bunch of these now. But it's a really cool looking body. It just doesn't look close enough to the body that we wanted to create. So we actually had to figure out a way to create a Lexan body from scratch. Now you guys know why I chose HemiStorm. Because he makes some of the most difficult and most badass 5th scale bodies on the market, okay? So when I called him and I said, you're gonna need to do this custom body for a Formula 1 car, that was a challenge for him. And we were able to, through like literally a nail-biting 5 or 6 days, which is unheard of. They had to sculpt a perfect body to match these RC cars. Remember, these are the original Hero cars. They had to sculpt custom bodies to mount the Lexan on, and then we had to vacuum form the Lexan around those custom formed bodies based off the original CAD files from this model here. So what we came up with was 2 things, because we had to have bodies that matched the original Hero cars, which are slightly longer, and we had to have the bodies to match the F104 stock chassis. So ultimately what we ended up making was 2 different versions. Now, it's really important to note that this is impossible, what you're looking at right here. This Lexan body has a ridge on the inside. This right here takes an extremely powerful vacuum to suck the Lexan over the mold. So it was literally like an impossible task for them to turn these around as quickly as they did. So we ended up with not only the bodies in long and short format, but we also ended up with all of the extra pieces that we need to make the actual finished product look right and look as close to the original cars that the client had built as possible. So here we are with the 2 different sizes, and then of course we had to paint them all, which again is the reason why I brought Chris DeGraff, because he was able to do the sickest, baddest paint jobs that you could ever imagine on these things. Like, I know it seems simple, like it's a silver and a black, and these are a little used from the short shoot, but it's just such a brilliant silver, and the yellow's perfectly painted, and the blacks are all there, and it just looks great. And with the sticker kit, it looks phenomenal. It took 18 coats of paint to do this, so I gotta give another big shout out to HemiStorm for his help on this. The client ended up being stoked, and we were on to the next phase, which is figuring out how to do the stunt cars.
So we need to figure this out all the way from the base. Also with grip and what kind of motors we're gonna put in them.
Okay, so for each one of the stunts, there was some different power requirements that we needed for each one of the vehicles, because there was a jump, there was a burnout, there was high-speed drifting, there was chasing, there was follow cam, lead cam, all the regular stuff from like a Fast and Furious movie. So we had to be able to travel really fast. And here's the kicker. The video ultimately is a race between the RC and the full-scale formulaE car. Not some visual effects stuff that they do in Hollywood. The actual formulaE car. Now talk about an RC enthusiast's bucket list. That has got to be on everyone's bucket list. Doing full-scale versus 110 against a multi-million-dollar Formula 1E race car. So we definitely had to make these things fast. And if you want to make things go fast, there's only one place you need to go, and that's Castle. So we called our boys up at Castle. We ordered ourselves some of these 4-pole Castle creations. We got two different kinds, the 4800 kilovolt, and we also got the 5700 kilovolt for max torque and power. So by installing these in the vehicles, we were able to get a tremendous amount of speed to be able to get the kind of power and top end that we needed for each one of the stunts. So now we're going to take a closer look at some of the vehicles and the different builds, so you can see a little bit of the inside. Also, one of the things we added a much more powerful servo to handle the power, and we put 7.4 volt LiPos in them. So these little suckers trucked, and they were super fast. And I can tell you this, one of the best things that ever happened to me was being strapped to the back of a lead car, driving my vehicle towards me with a full-scale Formula 1 car right behind me, passing and doing all this crazy stuff. It was dope. But let's take a closer look at the vehicles. Here's an example of one of the vehicles that is a completed result. So you can see it has a very close striking similarity to the original Hero cars. It's quite different, but on camera it doesn't look quite that different when it's going 100 miles an hour. I'm kidding, we didn't go 100 miles an hour. We went more like 50 and 60 miles an hour pretty consistently. Let me tell you about the location. The location was in Miami. It was in an old abandoned airstrip, which in the 70s and 80s was the airstrip they used to drop cocaine into Miami. So then it was used for military training, and then it was also used for drag racing. But we told them, we said, when we're gonna race this thing, we need some people with push brooms to you know, push off all the dirt and all the rocks. When we got there, they had a street sweeper going up and down the track to make sure there was not pebbles for these things to hit. This was a serious production. Let's do this. Ultimately, there was about 45 people there, including the client. We had a spec day where we tested everything out, and we also had a full day. When we tested it out, they brought this super powered Corvette with a camera rig on the back. They brought the formulaE car. I mean, it was the full 9 yards. But when you look at this vehicle, let's talk about it real quick. These front pods, again, this is all Lexan up here, right? So the nose is Lexan. There's Lexan on the original stock front end that's highly modified. And then there's these nose cones with the sticker kit on it. But you can see we also had these little side wings. They had to be custom molded because they were additional pieces. You couldn't obviously do a Lexan form for that. And then we had to buy all the right tires in just about every different weight. I had literally dozens and dozens of pairs of these tires. I'm not even kidding you. But let's take a look underneath. So you can see here, this is the post-race version. Originally we would have something like the Castle Creations 4600 as the actual motor, and then we would also have the Castle Creations Sidewinder 3 ESC in there. And in some of these we installed the Spectrum AVC technology so that we could avoid like the spinnies when it gets going too fast. And then we put these really expensive servos in there. I forget what they're called. I'm sure Hemistorm will know, to make sure it can handle the power. But basically, it's just mainly stock. We modified how the body is attached so there wouldn't be any posts sticking out. But other than that, it's pretty stock. And these things went super fast. And literally, we thought we would break them all. We only broke one, and that was at a gag at the end of the video. Can't talk too much about that. But you can see that basically, when you have the body on, it looks pretty close, almost exact, with very small differences to the original. Obviously, one is longer. But we didn't end up using any of these in the actual commercial. We used only the stunt cars, which was good for us. Also, since it was the same exact chassis as the one used for the hero car and for the stunt cars. We were actually able, for most of the shots, to swap out the front and rear ends because the rear ends and front ends are very highly custom, right? So we actually use those for a lot of the shots. Were we able to get all the stunts? Yes, we were. It was a lot of trickery, a lot of really careful stunt driving, a lot of speed runs. Heck, there was even a burnout. Hemi-Storm, Chris DeGraff got to do a burnout with the Formula 1 car going around it in real time. This is no special effects. When you see this commercial, and hopefully you'll be able to see it right after this video because I'll curate it into my playlist, you're gonna be absolutely blown away. The commercial is awesome. So I want to give a big shout out again to Chris DeGraff, Hemi-Storm RC. Check out his channel, make sure you subscribe. Also, big thank you to Denizen. Go to HelloDenizen on YouTube, awesome channel, check out all their videos. And a big thank you to Qualcomm for taking technology to the next level, and maybe someday we'll have wireless charging technology in our vehicles so we can stay running all day long. Sounds good to me.